All right, so today we're diving into something that might seem a little bit counterintuitive at first.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about why really smart folks sometimes have a tough time with relationships.
Right. Right.
Like you'd think with all that brain power, relationships would be a piece of cake. Right.
Yeah, you'd assume they'd have a leg up, wouldn't you? All that, problem solving and analysis.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Mm.
figuring out people should be easy peasy.
Uh-huh.
But today's deep dive is going to kind of flip that idea on its head.
Okay.
We're taking a close look at this article by Isabella Chase. Came out April 5th, 2025.
Okay.
And she's done a really good job of bringing together, stuff from psych journals and self-help books and even some of her own observations about, how intelligence and relationships kind of intertwine.
I see.
And what we really want to do today is zero in on the big reasons why these smart folks, that they hit these relationship roadblocks.
Okay.
So we're going to, unpack things like overthinking and this deep need for authenticity.
Yeah.
Those can be awesome qualities in a lot of situations, but
Yeah.
in relationships, they can actually cause some friction.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So it's a good reminder that, just because you've got a high IQ doesn't automatically mean you've got, high EQ.
Right. Definitely not a one-to-one correlation.
No, not at all.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So first up, let's talk about something that I think a lot of folks listening can relate to no matter what their IQ is.
Okay, what's that?
And that's overthinking.
Oh, yeah. Overthinking a big one.
Huge, right?
It's classic.
And Chase's article points out, those super bright minds, they just don't stop working.
Yeah.
They're always analyzing stuff.
Always going.
Oh.
Always churning.
Right, always on.
Yeah.
And while that's amazing, for solving problems and, really getting to the bottom of things,
Right.
it can really backfire in relationships where things are messy and, feelings are all over the place.
Yeah, it makes sense. You can't always overthink your way through emotions.
Exactly. Emotions don't follow logic.
Right, right.
So think about it, right? How many times have you, second-guessed yourself in a relationship?
Oh, gosh. Way too many.
Right, replayed conversations in your head.
Constantly.
The article even gives some examples that I think we've all probably thought at some point.
Okay, like what?
Should I have said that differently?
Oh, yeah.
Why did they use that tone? Or even what did that little pause mean?
Oh, yeah. Trying to read into every little thing.
Right, exactly. And for someone with a really active mind, this can be on overdrive.
Yeah, they're dissecting every word, every gesture.
Right, looking for hidden meanings or trying to predict problems that might not even exist.
Right, right. Just creating all this unnecessary anxiety.
Totally. And, all that mental energy, it can be exhausting. Not just for the person doing it, but also for the people around them.
Oh, for sure. You can just feel it sometimes, right?
Right. And it can create this distance, you're so in your head that you're not really present.
You're not really there. Yeah.
Yeah. Chase even tells this story about rereading text messages a million times, trying to find some secret message that wasn't even there.
Oh, yeah. I've totally been there.
Right. We've all done it.
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in that.
Totally. But it's a perfect illustration of how overthinking can lead to all these misinterpretations and anxieties.
Right. And the article brings up this Einstein quote that I think really reframes what we mean by intelligence here.
Oh, what's the quote?
He said, "Any fool can know. The point is to understand."
I love that quote.
Yeah. And, it's not just about having information, but it's how you make sense of it.
Right. And that can be both a blessing and a curse.
Exactly.
Yeah. So superpower of understanding can actually become a weakness when you're overanalyzing every little interaction.
Right. It can really distort things.
Nice. Okay. So we've talked about overthinking. Now let's move on to another biggie.
Okay.
And that's this idea that a high IQ doesn't equal a high EQ.
Right. The EQ gap.
Yeah. There's this assumption that if you're smart, you're also good with emotions.
Yeah. Like it's a package deal.
But Chase is nope, that's a myth.
Right. Not how it works.
Yeah. And it makes sense if you think about it. People who are used to acing tests and solving problems, they might not have put as much effort into developing their emotional skills.
Yeah, it's like a whole different set of muscles you have to train.
Right. And even on a brain level, the neural pathways for thinking and feeling are different.
Right. You can't just transfer skills from one to the other.
And the article quotes Daniel Goleman, who said,
Oh, yeah, the EQ guru.
yeah, he said, if your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, you are not going to get very far. That's pretty powerful, right?
Yeah, especially when you're talking about relationships.
Right, because emotions aren't logical. You can't just,
Yeah.
Apply a formula to figure them out.
Right, exactly. They're messy.
Yeah, Chase gives this example that I think is spot on.
Okay.
Imagine someone who understands all the science behind love. the hormones, the chemicals, the whole shebang.
Mm.
But then they completely don't get why their partner is upset because they were late and didn't call.
Oh, yeah. Classic example.
Right. So it's like you
Yeah.
can know all the facts about emotions, but still not be able to actually navigate them in real life.
Yeah, you can know the theory but not understand the practice.
Exactly. Okay. So we've got overthinking and we've got this potential EQ gap. What's next on the list?
Well, the article talks about something that I think a lot of smart people struggle with.
Okay.
It's the challenge of finding people who can really keep up with them intellectually.
Right. Like finding your tribe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, as humans, we crave connection. We want to share experiences with others.
Yeah.
And for really intelligent people, that often means having deep conversations about complex topics.
Right. You want to talk about the big idea.
Yeah, you want to go there, and it can be really tough to find people who can meet you at that level.
Yeah, like not everyone's going to want to debate quantum mechanics at a party.
Right, or analyze, 14th century literature.
Exactly. And that can lead to a lot of loneliness.
Oh, yeah, it can be really isolating.
Yeah, like you're surrounded by people, but you still feel alone.
Right, because you're not really connecting on that deep level.
Chase uses this example of wanting to discuss a Nobel Prize-winning study
Okay.
while your friends are like, did you see what that celebrity did?
Oh, yeah. Different wavelengths.
Totally different. And she talks about this feeling of geeking out about something you're passionate about
Right.
and just getting blank stares from everyone.
Yeah, it's like you're speaking a different language.
Yeah. Can be tough.
Oh.
Okay, so we've got overthinking, we've got the EQ gap, and we've got this difficulty finding similar minds.
Right. What else is on the list?
All right, this one's kind of interesting.
Okay.
It's the intimidation factor.
Oh, yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah, and it's usually not intentional.
Right.
But smart people can sometimes come across as intimidating without even realizing it.
Yeah, it's like they don't even know they're doing it.
Exactly.
Hmm.
The article explains how, having a big vocabulary or making obscure references can make other people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, they feel like they're not smart enough.
Right. And what feels like a normal conversation to you
Uh-huh.
might feel like a lecture to someone else.
Right, like they're being tested or something.
Totally. And the article quotes Margaret Mead, who said, always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else.
I like that one.
Right. And it's so true. Like we all have different levels of knowledge.
Different interests, different backgrounds, yeah.
Right. And it's not about being better or worse than anyone else.
Right.
But it's easy to see how, someone explaining advanced algorithms
Right.
could be misconstrued as them thinking they're smarter than you.
Yeah, it can create a weird power dynamic.
Totally. And that can really damage relationships.
Yeah, it can make people shut down or pull away.
Okay. Moving right along.
Mm.
What about perfectionism? How does that play into all of this?
Oh, perfectionism. That's a big one.
Yeah. Smart people often have high standards for themselves.
Right. They want to do everything perfectly.
And sometimes those high standards spill over into their relationships.
Yeah, they expect their partners to be perfect too.
And the article makes this important distinction between, healthy striving and perfectionism.
Okay, what's the difference?
So like healthy striving is about wanting to do your best.
Okay.
But perfectionism is more about this idea that if you're perfect, you can avoid pain and judgment.
Oh, yeah, like a defense mechanism.
Right. And that creates a lot of pressure.
Yeah, for everyone involved.
And the article talks about how this pressure can show up in really subtle ways.
Okay, give me an example.
Like imagine someone getting quietly frustrated because their partner mispronounced a word.
Oh, yeah.
Or because the kitchen isn't spotless.
Right, those little things can add up.
Exactly. And it creates this underlying tension.
Yeah, like a low-grade hum of disapproval.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about perfectionism now.
Yeah.
Let's move on to social skills.
Okay.
And the article makes it clear that just because you're brilliant in one area
Right.
doesn't mean you're automatically a social butterfly.
Right, social skills are their own thing.
Yeah, they're a whole separate set of skills that you have to learn.
And sometimes smart people don't get as much practice with those skills.
Yeah, maybe they're more introverted or they have social anxiety.
Right, or they just haven't had a lot of opportunities to develop those skills.
Yeah, and the article is really reassuring here.
Okay, how so?
It's like, hey, it doesn't mean you're doomed to be awkward forever.
Right.
It's just that you might need to put some extra effort into learning those social graces.
Yeah, like anything else, it takes practice.
Exactly. And Chase talks about how, they used to find big social gatherings really draining.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
And they much preferred one-on-one deep conversations.
Makes sense.
But they came to realize that small talk can actually be a really valuable tool.
Okay, how so?
It's like a bridge to those deeper connections.
Okay, so you don't have to skip the small talk altogether.
Right. It's about seeing it as a way to build rapport.
Yeah, like a stepping stone.
Okay, so we've talked about overthinking and intellectualizing social interactions.
Right.
But the article also warns against overanalyzing emotions themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's a slippery slope.
Right. Because emotions aren't always logical.
Right, they're messy and unpredictable.
And when you try to apply your analytical mind to your feelings,
Mm,
you can get really stuck in your head.
yeah. You overthink them, you dissect them.
And the article talks about this fear of losing control
Right.
or not being able to understand your emotions logically.
Uh,
And that can lead to avoidance.
yeah, you just shut down.
Or even complete emotional shutdown.
Right.
Like there's this example of a brilliant person who just clams up when asked how they're feeling.
Oh, yeah, classic example.
Right. And it's because they're so used to thinking their way through everything
Uh-huh.
that they don't know how to just be with their emotions.
And the article emphasizes that emotions aren't like math problems.
Right.
You can't just solve them with logic.
Yeah, trying to decode them that way just creates more confusion.
Yeah, it takes you further away from the actual experience.
And that leads us perfectly into the next point, which is the fear of vulnerability,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people.
especially for people who are used to being seen as the competent one.
Right, the one who has it all together.
And the article talks about how opening up and showing your flaws can feel really scary.
Yeah, like you're exposing yourself.
Right. And it can be especially hard for people whose self-worth is tied to their intelligence.
Yeah, like if you're used to being praised for your smarts,
Showing weakness can feel like a threat.
like you're going to lose your value.
Right. And there's this Carl Rogers quote that really captures this.
Okay, what's the quote?
He said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change."
That's a good one.
And it's so relevant here, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be willing to let people see your imperfections.
To let them see the real you.
Exactly. And the article emphasizes that real intimacy can't grow without vulnerability.
You have to let your guard down.
All right, next up, we've got this fascinating trait that Chase highlights,
Okay, what's that?
and that's the high value that intelligent people place on authenticity.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right? They crave realness.
They can't stand fakeness.
Exactly. And they have very little tolerance for superficial conversations.
Yeah. They want to cut to the chase.
But as the article points out, this can sometimes be a problem in social situations.
Okay, how so?
Well, because it can lead to impatience with things like small talk.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Like the article gives this example of someone thinking, why are we talking about the weather when we could be discussing climate change policy?
Oh, yeah, classic.
Right. And intellectually, that's a valid question.
Totally.
But it doesn't always make for smooth social interactions.
Right, you got to meet people where they are.
Exactly. And while authenticity is crucial for deep connections, the article reminds us that sometimes those lighter moments,
Yeah.
like joking around or, chatting about everyday stuff,
Right.
those can actually bring people closer too.
It's about building rapport.
Okay, last but not least, the article talks about this potential feeling of disconnect
Okay.
that smart people might feel from societal norms.
Right, like they don't quite fit in.
And this comes from their tendency to question everything.
Yeah, they see the world differently.
Right. And while that critical thinking is awesome for problem solving,
Uh-huh.
it can also make you feel like an outsider.
Yeah, like you're not on the same page as everyone else.
And the article gives this hilarious example
Okay.
of someone analyzing the logic of a joke while everyone else is laughing.
Oh, yeah, I've totally been there.
Right. And it's like, wait, why are you laughing? This doesn't even make sense.
So you're ruining the fun.
And this disconnect can make it tough to form relationships.
Yeah, because you don't feel like you belong.
But the article ends on a really positive note.
Okay, I like positive notes.
Right. It's like, hey, this tendency to question everything, it's not a bad thing.
Right.
It's actually a unique filter for finding your people.
The people who get you.
Right. The ones who appreciate your different perspective.
Your tribe.
And the article briefly touches on how to break this cycle of relationship struggles.
Okay, good, because I was wondering about that.
Right. And it emphasizes that these challenges aren't insurmountable.
Oh, okay.
It's all about understanding empathy and effort.
Right. You got to put in the work.
And it gives some practical tips like practicing emotional awareness,
Okay.
active listening, seeking out like-minded communities, embracing small talk,
Right.
and allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
Good advice.
So to sum it all up, this deep dive shows us that, yeah, smart people often do face unique challenges in relationships.
Right. It's not all sunshine and roses.
But the reasons behind these struggles, they're understandable, and there's hope for improvement.
Totally.
We talked about overthinking the EQ gap, the difficulty of finding similar minds, the intimidation factor, perfectionism, social skills, overanalyzing emotions,
Right.
fear of vulnerability, authenticity, and feeling disconnected from societal norms.
It's a whole lot to unpack.
It is. But the good news is that the same qualities that make you brilliant,
Yeah.
they can also help you build amazing relationships.
Right. It's about harnessing those strengths.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the article reminds us that intelligence is a tool,
Mm-hmm.
but relationships are about human connection.
Right.
It's about empathy,
Hmm.
patience, and navigating those messy emotions.
It's not always easy.
No, but it's worth it.
Definitely.
So if you're listening and you're like, man, this is so me,
Uh-huh.
just know that understanding these dynamics is the first step to making things better.
Right. Awareness is key.
And I think this article leaves us with a really thought-provoking question.
Okay. What's that?
How might cultivating your emotional intelligence alongside your intellectual strengths
Uh-huh.
actually lead to even deeper and more fulfilling connections?
That's a great question to
Mhm.
ponder.
It's like instead of letting your brilliance hold you back in relationships,
Right.
you can use it to build even stronger bonds.
I like that it's a hopeful message.
Yeah,
Something to think about for sure.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye-bye.